All right, hello there. This is the second video in a series of introducing fundamentals um, for those studying music notation and MuseScore. I'm Dr. Welty, and in this video, we're going to be talking about note values, note durations, and then in turn, what is meant by meter or time signature. So I have our old staves that we used from the original video, and I have a little more information here on the screen. What I have are certain note values. Now, this one, observe it closely. We have a filled in circle and a line on the side. This line can be on either side. It'll look a little different if it's over here, but it's going to not alter anything about the note, whether it's on this side or this side. That applies to the other one next to it that has a line also, the line we call a stem. So the note head here is filled in, has a stem. We're going to call this guy our quarter note. Now, you could make an inference here, right? If that was the quarter note and it had a value of 1, the thing that has a value of 2 is likely to be our half note. And then go a step further. What do you think? It's going to be a whole note. Let me separate these a little more. So what do these numbers really mean, though, right? Because these numbers seem almost arbitrary. Why should the quarter note have a 1 under it? Why does the half note have a 2 and the whole note have a 4? Well, this is typically kind of a first conventional starting point for thinking about note values and durations. If you were to back all the way up and be thinking about some of the absolute simplest musical information, I'm typically thinking about like introducing children to music in the classroom. We tend to think about the quarter note first. I'm thinking of Kodai method, where we have just a stem with no note head, and that stem indicates ta, that there's a musical impulse that's occurring there. We tend to think about that quarter note as receiving 1 beat. Now, I am producing these videos for older students or young adults who are in college level. And so I want to put a little asterisk there that when we say the quarter note gets 1 beat, well, that's kind of like a first way we introduce these things, but that's not always the case in a lot of pieces of music. And we'll talk about how you would know when that is the case or not. So for now, believe me when I say, just hear me out, that this guy is going to get the beat and it's going to be worth 1, right? So up here, these guys are worth 2 and then worth 4. Well, again, that doesn't mean much until we talk about meter. It's another way of saying time signature, roughly. So if I go over here to my staff and I'm going to draw, let's just draw the treble clef again. I can do better than that. Let's just, no, go back. Let's do it again. Please? Maybe? No. Okay. Okay. I have calluses on my fingers, so sometimes. Okay. Fine. Passable. So I have a treble clef here. And the next bit of information that we're going to add to this is a time signature. And I'm just gonna draw it here. We're gonna talk about the old 4/4 first, but these are giant numbers. Oh man, I gotta practice with this. Anyway, so we have a 4/4 there, um, and what is this telling us? Well, let's think about it this way. I'm gonna write up here the number on top, and I'll explain. This might not make a ton of sense from the get go. The number on top is telling us how many, and the number on the bottom is telling us what kind. Well, what do I mean? So, how many? Just the number 4. Keep that in your mind. Four of something. We're gonna have 4 of something, and then the what kind down here. I wouldn't blame you if you saw the 4 and thought, oh, there's a 4 over there. If only. But hold on. This 4, if we were to think about this, they're not fractions. I don't want to do that. But if you were to think about it in terms of fractions, this would be, hypothetically, if we had a 1 on top of here, it would be 1/4. It'd be 1/4. So that's a way to think about it, is if you're mixing this up and you're brand new at this, it's okay. You think about substituting a 1, just the number 1 here, and then that fraction, even though these are not fractions, that fraction will tell you what it's pointing to. It's pointing to the quarter note. And that's telling us that every measure is going to have 4 quarter notes in it. Well, hold on, what's a measure? So let's do this. I'm going to add a division here. And let's say like the music were to keep going over here, right? This space right here, it's a little short, but it's a measure, and it's going to have the value of 4 quarter notes or its equivalent in it. It has to. It has to in our musical notation system. Now, notation software, like the ones you're going to be engaging with, will do this for you. They'll try and force you to always have the right number of notes. If you're writing this by hand, obviously there's no software to help you, so you need to be able to count through these things. So if we were to think about populating this measure with notes, well, we could not exceed the value of 4. So that means we could use how many whole notes? Value of 4. We can only use 1 because the whole note is worth 4. Let me do that again. So I asked, what notes or combination of notes could we put in theoretically into this measure that has the value of 4 quarter notes available to it? Well, in the case of the whole note, only 1, because it has a value of 4. In the case of the whole note, well, only 2. In case of the quarter notes, only 4. But we could think about a combination of these things. Like what if we had say a half note and then a quarter? How many beats would that be? Only 3. So we need another one. And now the measure's complete. I just chose to put them on that line arbitrarily. Those are G's. That won't have an effect on the thing that we're talking about. So these notes, well, they have a rhythm, certainly. We'll talk about that. But they're fitting into the meter. And that's my point, is that the meter is this metrical division. Now, I've given you the type of mathematical approach to like, okay, what the meter means and how many and what kind, and thinking about it that way. This is our classic 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that underlying meter. What some people colloquially call the beat is that underlying pulse that's underneath the music that we are producing or listening to. Not everything's in 4/4, but this example is. And so we're thinking about that feeling of 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. I've applied a backbeat to it for thinking about any kind of rock, pop, hip hop kind of idea there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So still going to be in 4/4. This rhythm, if we were to think about it, this half note occupies a space of 2 beats, and these quarter notes occupy the space of 1 beat. If we were to think about this way, I'm gonna snap the beat, just 4 beats here. So this is the beat, and I'm gonna be singing, perhaps somewhat annoyingly, just on ta, the lengths of these notes. So if I have them here, this guy's worth 2 beats, so it'd be ta. And these guys are just ta, get 1 beat. So I have ta, ta, ta. That's it. That's that rhythm. Ta, ta, ta. Okay, so if we were to perhaps do something different. So what if I get rid of these, and what if I brought over a whole note? Can you anticipate what that rhythm would be if I were snapping it and singing it in that annoying, monotonous nah kind of sound, that nasal sound? It would just be 4 beats, ta, and that's that. Then we're on to the next measure. To be clear, by the way, I'm only stopping making noise because there's just no other music written over here. But this separator, the bar line that separates the measures from one another, we would never stop there. We just keep going right through it. It's a division to help us see how the rhythms are divided up into these groupings. So if I keep going here, what if we did a different time signature? I won't get too advanced in this video for the sake of time. Consider that, what if I had, I'll redraw my treble clef. Okay, we'll take it this time. And then I need, getting closer. What if I did 3, 4? Okay, so let's think about it again. On top, we have how many? 3. On the bottom, it's asking what kind? Well, they're still quarter notes in this case. Because again, if you need a reminder, replace that 3 with a 1, and make it like a fraction in your mind. It ends up being a quarter, 1/4, quarter note. So, filling up a measure of 3/4, could we have a half note? No, we don't have space for 4 beats here. We only have 3 beats per division. And so we'd have to use some other set of notes. Half note and a quarter note, 3 quarter notes, quarter note, half note, etc. And I'm only doing these divisions for now, just so we're getting the grasp of how these meters and very simple subdivisions work. Very simple divisions, I mean to say. 3/4 doesn't seem like a big change. Just got n-1 on top, right? Well, 3/4 feels a lot different than 4/4. So if I were to think about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, I'm just saying 1, 2, 3 and snapping with it. But I'm sure you heard that little emphasis I was giving it as I was counting through it. That's how we get to the feeling of a waltz. Let me say that again. When I added that emphasis on, I went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, we start to feel that forward momentum that 3 somehow has, especially when you give an emphasis on the first beat. And so 3/4 and 4/4, not only do we fill the measures of music differently, but we feel them differently, fundamentally, because that 3/4, the emphasis is coming around on the first beat sooner every time. I hope that makes sense. Often people describe 3/4 as a waltz. In the next video, we'll talk about with a little more precision about some other subdivisions that make use of other numbers and smaller note sizes. So that's all I have for this video. And be sure to check out the next one if you have more questions, or you can also send me an email or put a comment in the comments section. Anyway, yes, that's all I have. So long.